Bro, could you call it a domino effect if the first piece doesn't fall? First piece being America, and then all of the other subsequent pieces fall elsewhere? Because low key, it is a domino effect, except nothing happened in America. Even fucking Peter Attia, who is like super low level, just a random sham, self-help guru guy, is being protected by Barry Weiss over at CBS and is not being fired. Like, not even the lowest level pedophile affiliates are getting punished. It's fucking crazy. Speaking of pedophilia protection, let's get back to the Epstein Files. No more Epstein Files to be released, according to the DOJ.
Partisan backlash, the Department of Justice sending a letter to Congress defending its handling of the release of more than 3 million pages of files tied to convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In a letter it was legally required to send, the DOJ listing more than 300 high-profile names that appear in the files. It includes some people who've been dead for decades and is not evidence of any wrongdoing. Some have no known association with Epstein, like Elvis. And the DOJ arguing the millions of pages the department withheld and the heavy redactions in the records it released were to comply with privacy protections in the law, writing no records were withheld or redacted on the basis of embarrassment, reputational harm, or political sensitivity. Some lawmakers not buying it.
This is a massive cover-up being led by the White House and the DOJ.
Even several Republicans arguing the DOJ did withhold files or redact information the new Epstein Files Transparency Act explicitly says must be made public. Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace writing the excuses provided for not releasing all the files will not hold up in a court of law. This isn't going away until people go to jail.
40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
And lawmakers directly criticizing the Attorney General, saying she ducked questions last week on why the names of some high-profile men were blacked out in the files while some victims' identities were revealed.
She wasn't confident enough to engage in anything but name-calling in a hearing. And so, no, I don't have confidence in her.
Meantime, in Hollywood, high-profile sports and talent agent Casey Wasserman announced he's now selling his agency after the DOJ files revealed he exchanged emails with Epstein's now convicted co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell in 2003, years before Epstein first pleaded guilty to sex crimes. In an email to his staff, Wasserman said he had, quote, limited interactions with Epstein and Maxwell, but said he now believes he's become a distraction to the company's work. And he said he's devoting his full attention to his other role as chairman of the 2028 Los Angeles Olympic Games. Michael.
All right, Jay, the fallout seemed to be far from over. Thank you so much for that.
And now to the growing fallout from the Epstein files and how they've been handled by the Trump administration. While little action has been taken to investigate the files in this country, the files have prompted new investigations in several other countries. Attorney General Pam Bondi claims all relevant files have been released, but her Justice Department has been accused of redacting the names of potential co-conspirators. In Europe, the former Prince Andrew is under growing pressure, but he is not the only public figure facing scrutiny these days. Lee Canary has a story.
Jeffrey Epstein.
An international domino effect.
Investigations are now underway in at least 10 countries.
From Europe, where the former...
Bro, could you call it a domino effect if the first piece doesn't fall? First piece being America, and then all of the other subsequent pieces fall elsewhere? Because low key, it is a domino effect, except nothing happened in America. Even Peter Attia, who is like super low level, just a random sham, self-help guru guy, is being protected by Barry Weiss over at CBS and is not being fired. Like, not even the lowest level pedophile affiliates are getting punished. It's crazy. Yet, I don't think there's any punishments coming, chatter. I'm going to keep it $150 with you. It makes me feel like this country is dominated by the pedophilic cabal, and they actually like that everyone is a pedophile. That's what it makes me feel like, okay? Because, goddamn, it is crazy. Like, not even like a little bit of scrutiny. No friends are just, rolling up at dinner being like, yo, you were a pedophile? That's crazy, man. What the were you doing with the international pedophilic cabal, brother? Not even a little bit. It's side note, Pamboni's atrocious performance last week will lead to her firing. I'm calling it the one thing Trump hates more than insubordination is undeniable unpopularity. She's becoming a brand risk. I agree. I said that last week.
Prime Minister of Norway is charged with gross corruption, which he denies. To the Emirates, where the CEO of one of the globe's largest companies has stepped down after the files released displayed communications with Epstein, including an email with a reference to, quote, torture video. He has not been charged with any crime. In the UK, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor faces new calls to be investigated for allegedly leaking state secrets. And in Hollywood, top marketing exec Casey Wasserman is selling his talent agency. He's not accused of a crime, but said he regrets flirtatious emails he sent to Ghislaine Maxwell that had become a distraction.
Once again, I mean, Casey Wasserman was more deeply embedded with the Epsteins than just trying to f Ghislaine Maxwell, for the record. Like, he's been photographed with them over and over again, which is why it's so crazy that, like, they're presenting this retreat. They're presenting this retreat as a guy who was just too horny and he wanted to f Ghislaine Maxwell. That's not the case. People don't realize that, like, that's not. People don't realize that Casey Wasserman is far, far more embedded with the Epsteins than just trying to f Ghislaine, even though that is obviously crazy. You're criminally horny, brother. I mean, Jesus Christ. He was not too horny. No, he was trying to f Ghislaine, which is crazy. But a lot of people don't realize that this is, I think, is a distraction. Like, he's trying to present it as like, oh, I'm pulling out of like I'm pulling out of the public eye because everybody caught me being, pathetically horny trying to have sex with Ghislaine Maxwell, when in fact he's far, far more embedded with the Epstein folk than just trying to f Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm just saying. I want my scalps Bondi first. Respectfully, she kind of bad. Oh my God, Chatter. Jail for you, dude. Chatter, that is crazy, brother.
Shut up, bitch.
Oh my God. Hating you from outside the club. What is this? America Man Hero. If you think revoking gay rights and abortion rights is moderate, what could be further right than that? What? Dude, Indonesian far righters are so funny. These guys would, dude, hey, listen. I have so much love for the Ummah, okay? Except for the Indonesian right wingers, okay? I'm sorry. Y'all are begging to be slaughtered. It is crazy to me. There is nothing funnier than Indonesian far right figures that are like, the Indonesian nationalists that are, Muslim and brown, right? Like objectively hated by the very same people that they glaze endlessly. I don't understand it. It's just so, you have to be so brain broken. Like, they were all celebrating because they all hate China, right? And once again, I love Indonesia. Indonesia is great. After all, Indonesia is responsible for Barack Obama, my favorite politician. Having said that, okay, Indonesian far right figures were celebrating like the anti-communist Japanese, the LDP party winning, like the far right, more nationalist Japanese person winning, and then literally a day after, Takaichi was like, I love Israel. And the Indonesian fire was like, whoa, hold up. We love you. Why are you doing this? Why do you love Israel? Bitch, what the f do you think the far right does? They don't give a shit about Muslims, you dumbass. You're so stupid. Enjoy the Chinese high-speed rail and shut the f up. India is like this too. I know. Well, I think the BJP, like the Hindutva fascists, love Israel regardless, though. Soundboard is the best part of the stream now. Yeah.
Action. Epstein spun himself a web of global elites. Many of them named this weekend by the Department of Justice. 300 high-profile people that appear at least once in Epstein's emails. Some in direct contact with him, others just mentioned in news articles. Criminality is not implied. But Juliette Bryant said when she met Epstein in South Africa, surrounded by powerful people, it made her feel safe.
A girl approached me and said she was here with the King of America. He was here with Bill Clinton and Kevin Spacey and Chris Tucker.
Bryant did not accuse the other men of wrongdoing, but said Epstein flew her to New York and then put her on a private jet.
Yeah, I know. I said CBS retained Atia, which is crazy. CBS is covering the Epstein Files. CBS is covering the Epstein Files. Meanwhile, Barry Weiss, the editor-in-chief, has retained Peter Attia and is refusing to fire Peter Attia, who was directly involved with Jeffrey Epstein. Billionaire Tom Pritzker announced on Monday he was retiring as executive chairman of Hyatt Hotels after his association with Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, we got one scalp. We got one. I'll take it. By the way, Tom Pritzker is a whole ass freak, bro. I'm not even going to do the fall for that. Like, if you look at what some of the correspondence looked like between him and Jeffrey Epstein, he was like talking about potentially doing some really weird shit in Afghanistan as a part of his like birthday celebration. By the way, this is not even a punishment. He's just, yeah, it's not even really a punishment. Honestly, he's just retiring. Like he should. I'm not going to say anything else or whatever. He should receive criminal punishment, a criminal investigation. And then possibly go to jail. Let's be real. Another pedo elite, pro-Trump billionaire Mark Rowan, who the president appointed to the Board of Peace tasked with reconstructing Gaza, maintained close connections with child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein. Newly released documents show. Unsurprising. Yes, there is a likelihood that he was either hunting or raping young boys in the mountains of Korengal, the Korengal Valley. Not even a joke. Like a lot of this stuff. For Tom Pritzker, I mean, a lot of this stuff is crazy. Also, Tom Barack, and we know that already. Ambassador and Trump confidant Tom Barack kept in regular contact with Jeffrey Epstein for years, documents show. And Tom Barack is famous for saying the quiet part out loud over and over again. He's like, why the f would the Hezbollah disarm themselves? We're just going to dominate them and we're going to take over Lebanon, you know? Which, by the way, isn't a defense of Hezbollah. Like, he wasn't making a defense of Hezbollah. He was just saying, like, there's nothing you can do about it. Israel's going to take over your territory, whether you like it or not.
The airplane took off. He started touching me forcibly in between my legs, and I freaked out. I realized this is not a modeling opportunity. I've been kidnapped.
Bryant received damages from Epstein's estate.
In the last few weeks, Juliette, we've seen people like royals, prime ministers, people in positions of power face real consequences. How do you feel about
Yeah, Tom Barack said, Jeffrey Epstein and Tom Barack said, send picture of child, make me smile. Also, yes, the Tom Pritzker is JB Pritzker's cousin, I think, right? Yes, JB Pritzker is a billionaire. They own the Hyatt Regency hotel chain. They're a billionaire family. Did you guys forget? Yeah, they're billionaires. They're rich people. Hello?
that?
Well, I think it's amazing that they're all being exposed, but I just would like to see them all held accountable.
The pursuit of accountability continues. The House Oversight Committee will depose Ohio billionaire Les Wexner next week. The FBI labeled him as a co-conspirator in a 2019 internal document. Now, Wexner and all the men we mentioned deny criminal accusations. Vlad?
All right, Lee, thank you very much.
Billions of pages of documents related to Jeffrey Epstein, providing more information on the convicted sex offender's crimes. Among the files, claims bodies are buried near Epstein's Zorro Ranch in Santa Fe County. Tonight, the state land commissioner demanding an investigation.
Yeah, the guy who purchased this property is Steve Bannon affiliate, Donald Trump affiliate, for the record. Just something interesting to think about. The super wealthy guy who purchased the property is not cooperating with the police, as far as I understand as well, in terms of opening up a new investigation and potentially digging up the property to see if there are bodies there. Zorro Ranch in New Mexico is the ranch that the Clintons had also visited. It's the eugenics ranch that he had. This is most likely the base of operations for Epstein's breeding facility. Oh, he is now?
I'm going to keep asking questions and keep poking around until I get an answer.
Those coming from an anonymous email in 2019 addressed to a local radio host.
Leah Chavez spoke with him and has the details of that email. Yeah, Doug, Shelley, we're also hearing tonight from the Attorney General's office, who says it takes these allegations seriously, but needs more information to do something about it. Eddie Aragon says it was early in the morning in November 2019 when he got this email from someone claiming they were a former staffer at Zorro Ranch, writing, "Did you know somewhere in the hills outside of the Zorro, 2 foreign girls were buried on orders of Jeffrey and Madam G. Both died by strangulation during rough fetish sex."
I got the email. I was startled.
The emailer says they had 7 sex videos, including some with minors, but never actually sent the footage, asking Aragon for digital currency Bitcoin.
Approximately at that time, Bitcoin was worth about $8,000. They wanted to exchange 1 Bitcoin for the videos that they had in possession.
Aragon says he didn't know what to do with the email, so he sent it to the FBI.
I've since referred to the FBI on a number of other things, and I've never heard back from them on anything.
Fast forward 6 years later, the DOJ released Aragon's email as part of the Epstein Files.
Matters. I think that New Mexicans need answers. I think the victims need answers.
That's what prompted New Mexico Public Lands Commissioner Stephanie Garcia Richard to send this letter to the Attorney General and the U.S. Attorney's Office Tuesday, asking them to thoroughly investigate this disturbing allegation regarding the referenced burials.
We need to get to the bottom of really what happened in New Mexico.
She says she was horrified to learn in 2019 that our state was still leasing lands around Zorro Ranch to Epstein's company.
I canceled the leases at that time.
A month after Epstein killed himself in jail, the land around the mansion totals around 1,200
Cap killed himself in jail, sure.
acres and hasn't been leased out since.
We're thinking to possibly turn it into a memorial to honor the victims, or as some kind of wildlife sanctuary, perhaps. So that's what we're thinking for that land.
Attorney General Raul Torres' office responding to Garcia Richard hours later with this letter. As we understand it, the allegations appear to be unsubstantiated, it says, going on to say they will work to obtain the original files. Once such information is obtained, our office will review it to determine whether any further action is warranted, and if so, the appropriate next steps.
To my knowledge, no investigation has taken place thus far. It doesn't sound like anything is going to be taking place very soon.
The commissioner says she's ready to offer all state land for investigation, but can't do anything about the ranch since it's privately owned, bought by new owners and renamed. Aaliyah Chavez, KOAT Action 7 News.
We asked the U.S. Attorney for a comment. They referred us to the FBI, which declined comment.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
I'm not watching this shit. I'm sorry. I don't give a about what Joe Rogan has to say about all of the Luciferian conspiracy theories and stuff like that. Anyway, breaking: U.S. Department of Homeland Security requests Google, Reddit, Instagram, and Facebook to provide names, phone numbers, and other identifying information of users who criticize ICE. We're not gonna make it, bros. I think it's over for us. I'll just turn on that music for everybody. It's over. You're along for the ride, I guess. Hey, ICE can suck my dick. ICE, the president, Donald Trump can suck my cock. The Department of Homeland Security, ICE is Gestapo. Bovine Bovino is 5'3", not even, like 4'11" maybe on a good day. A fun community meme about the soundboard. What is this? When a sound found this meme soundboard website.
Research is a very. Why are you still Don't stop pushing sound effects. I want to. Which one is that one?
This one.
It's a laser beam.
Yeah.
I like that one.
You like that one?
Yeah, I want to pepper that one in.
Okay.
Research is a very. Why are you still
Oh yeah, people are really pissed off about Spike Lee. We're gonna be talking about that as well. Obviously, I covered the NBA shit. Do you think they will give your name up? Yeah. Disturbing news article for Epstein's girlfriend to be sharing with him with no context. Missing dental Columbia student's family gives desperate plea for her return. That's weird. She was later found in the Hudson River with an undetermined cause of death, apparent suicide. Such a coincidence how suicide rates skyrocket for people anywhere in Epstein's vicinity. By the way, the missing woman, Juwan Lee, also shows up in a 2014 bank statement. That's Epstein's girlfriend. She went missing April 1, 28 days before the donation, possibly to the search or GoFundMe. Why is the article redacted? What do you mean? I don't know. Clinton's and their 300 suicides are overshadowed at last. We'll talk about Spike Lee in a second. This is how China is reporting the Epstein Files?
So the Epstein Files are out. Millions of pages, thousands of videos in order from Congress. And what have we learned? Well, Democrats accused the Attorney General of a cover-up. The Attorney General calls a senior congressman a washed-up loser lawyer. Victims sit in the room watching their accusers.
Bro, I don't care about the Kung Fu robots. Please stop linking me the Kung Fu robots. I saw the Kung Fu robots. It's great. It's great. Robot takeover, the China takeover. Please stop.
Their names blacked out, while their own names, their photographs, their suffering are leaked to the public. Welcome to accountability, Western style. For years, the Western elites, the Western men, have stood on what they call the moral high ground. They lecture other countries on human rights, on fair courts, on the worth of every person. They send diplomats to lecture former colonies about the rule of law, as if that law were a custom-made suit only for a rich man. So here's the uncomfortable truth the West does not want to face. The Epstein archive is not just one file on one criminal. It is a CT scan of the whole system, the courts, the banks, the politicians, even some academic institutions. Not evil in some movie sense, silent partners in real world sense. Silent through doing nothing, through convenient forgetfulness, through the quiet belief that some men are too powerful to ever be brought down. And yet these same institutions continue to grade the rest of the world on human rights, continue to issue report cards on judicial reform, continue to act as if they're the world's moral judge.
I do think it's like hypocrisy is easy to understand, right? It's easy to understand for even the dumbest guys out there. So the American criticisms of Russia's irredentist actions that are unjustifiable in Ukraine, followed so closely to Israel's unlimited genocide of the Palestinians, was a massive moment of hypocrisy, a moment of hypocrisy that made the rest of the world, including people here in the Western hemisphere, people here in the Western world, recognize that maybe America didn't have the best interest of others in mind, right? The Epstein Files is yet another glaringly obvious example of said hypocrisy. No accountability, no real justice system exists in the United States of America for the super wealthy. No matter how heinous the crime, the American government will never prosecute billionaires and millionaires, while they simultaneously claim that other countries do not have an adequate judicial process, other countries are actually corrupt, and that there is this moral rot in the way that they govern. Laying that hypocrisy out the bear, making people realize that maybe America's statements about foreign nations is all bullshit. Okay? And that's the truth. It is bullshit. We are a country that endlessly punishes the working poor for oftentimes, you know, being victims of circumstance, crimes born out of poverty. There are people rotting in jail for taking illegal substances like cocaine or even marijuana, which is even crazier, especially considering the marijuana is now legal. But you have RFK Jr., who is the head of the HHS, going on the Theo Von show and saying, I've snorted lines of coke off of, you know, toilet seats. That's the type of country this is. So yeah, it's not necessarily hypocrisy, but I think it's contradictions. Contradictions is when you recognize that this is not hypocrisy at all. Okay? That this is a byproduct of the system. This is a byproduct of the system's design. But if you do that with someone else, that means woke is back. What do you mean? Oh, you're referencing the Fear End podcast episode. Yes, Epstein's victims were working class, and Epstein's co-conspirators were a part of the parasitic capital owning class. And therefore, none of Epstein's co-conspirators were punished, and they did unlimited extrajudicial punishments and illegal acts to all of Epstein's victims. That's it. This administration or no American administration will ever punish the wealthy. It's disgusting. I mean, yeah, I already covered this as well. Rubio's speech being impulsive and imperialist and repulsive, saying unlimited violence is the only way forward for the global South, all this shit.
The lease on that high ground has run out. It ran out in Florida courthouse in 2008. It ran out on the private Caribbean island with the Harvard professor as a guest. It ran out this month on the live television when the victim had to watch her abuser's name being blacked out while her own name staying in plain sight. The Western elites wanted to be judged by their good intentions. Unfortunately for them, the Epstein Files contain only the facts.
Yeah, that's where we're at. When's the next China trip? Potentially the next, whoa, what the fuck was up with the camera there? Potentially in April is the next China trip with Alex and Alexa, and I'm very excited about that. Also, Boy's trying to come on the Cuban flotilla as well. This will be you in 50 years, Comrade Unk. Can I come to China too? You will be there. You will be there. And maybe Brace, you said on Mero's pod, that would be great, yeah. Did you see Chiose begging people to pick up their dog shit because it's literally everywhere in New York City right now? KW? No, I don't pay attention to what's going on in New York City politics and New York City day-to-day existence because I'm jealous. I'm jealous. Isn't there a 100% chance Trump will arrest everyone on the flotilla for passing a blockade or for whatever? No. I mean, they might choose to do so. That risk is always there. But, hi, Hasan, I'm 50, so not your demo. But just wonder why lately you keep burping in the mic. You never used to. It's a bit rude. I guess I'll get banned now. First of all, I'm not going to ban you, sir. And secondly, I've always burped in the microphone. That's not new. They're being called Stephen Yahoo, Leku James, and the KDF is I saw this already. It's just, oh, my God. I don't even want to see it. I don't even want to see it. Adam Two's had a take on Kaiser Kuo talking about, it's hard for me to fathom why any European delegates would have been applauding Rubio's Munich Security Conference speech. Was it just that it wasn't as unhinged as Vance's last year? Yes, the lament over the end of Western colonialism and imperialism landed. Jesus Christ. Adam Two says, it isn't an audience particularly interested in colonialism and imperialism. Atlanticism is the key. They just wanted nice words about NATO and less overt AFD stuff. It's Munich after all, not Paris or London or Madrid. To which G here responds with, I think this is right. Zombie Atlanticism dominates European elites, which means that they will gladly clap like seals at any sign the USA still has some residual NATO commitment. Intellectually, they still haven't accepted Carney's point that a rupture has occurred and they need to build new alliances. They need to build new alliances, but the problem is there's a second order here. And I think communists, socialists, anti-capitalists alike recognize that this higher priority is a commitment to the parasitic capital class, right? NATO is yet another mechanism that holds this international capitalist class together, or at least advances their interests. Okay? That's the reason why these guys glaze NATO. It's not because they are I mean, some of them might be truly fearful of Russian incursion. Because, like, when it comes to Euroscepticism, when it comes to, like, their attitude towards the USSR, those old wounds have not healed. It reminds me of Admiral Zuko saying, we liberated Europe from the Nazi scourge, and they will never forgive us for it. And I do think that there is truth to that. Like, the European industrial class absolutely was fine. Historically speaking, this is Zukov, not Zukov to that. Like, the European industrial class absolutely was fine. Historically speaking, this is Zukov, not Zuko. Admiral Zukov. Did I say it wrong? Did I say Zukov? Okay, f you. You, chat. Yeah, Zuko the firebender. Okay, he was bending some shit. All right. Anyway. They didn't leave. That's the problem? No, that's not the real problem. The real problem is the same appetite that the European titans of industry had that caused them to align with the Nazis initially, with the fascists initially, is the same reason why they were fearful of incursion from the USSR. Okay? That is it. It's the same reason why they maintain zombie Atlanticism and a commitment to NATO above all else. Because they know that as long as America is still a power to be reckoned with, okay? He was not an admiral. He served the land army. Okay, Marshal Zhukov. Sorry. God damn it, dude. My point is, these guys do not want class warfare. These guys do not want the current existing system to go away. And as they have in the past, they will once again align themselves with fascists if fascism promises stability and the current order. Okay? Maintaining the current order. That's it. That's it. And that's precisely what America is promising them right now. But instead of Adolf Hitler, the person who's doing that is Marco Rubio. The person who's doing that is Donald Trump. That's it. So if the representatives of not the European peoples, but instead the capital-owning class in Europe are the very same people that go to the Munich Security Conference, the very same people that are part of the EU, the very same people that are part of the political class in European countries, of course they're going to still clap like seals when Marco Rubio basically says, we're going to do unlimited imperialism, we're going to do unlimited domination, imperial conquest is what made the Western civilization the superior power that it actually was. And we're going to do that more aggressively going forward in Europe. We're going to bring you along on the journey. Of course, they're going to clap for that because the alternative is far more terrifying for them. The alternative is class first politics. The alternative is socialism. The alternative is socialist organizing, crippling the industrial production in the European countries at the behest of the working class, to ensure that these countries actually have some semblance of accountability or a better distribution of their own economic output. They don't want that. They would rather have fascism. They would rather have Palantir-backed fascism. They would rather have complete domination over the 99% at the behest of the 1% than anything else. It's that simple. There will come a time when people will ask themselves the question, which side are they on? Which side are you on? I don't know if they want to know the answer to that question, though. John Cusack says, what the Epstein Files and the continuing genocide reveal is that class is the issue and elites feel themselves to be higher forms of life who can do whatever they like with cattle. It's about right and wrong, basics, morality. What's most repulsive about Rubio's speech and the warm embrace it received by the European ruling class is that its only vision for Western civilization is a future of endless imperialist violence. They have nothing else to offer to their citizens or to the world. No vision for addressing social or ecological crises. No vision for improving people's lives. No vision for human progress. No other vision for greatness besides violence and plunder. It is, in fact, the antithesis of civilization. It is barbarism. I 100% agree with this sentiment. And one thing that will add on to it is that if you wanted permanent domination, let's be real. Fascism failed in the past. I don't know if it will succeed this time around, but it failed in the past because there was a collaborative element within social democracies, liberals like the United States of America, and also, communist nations like the USSR that worked very hard to destroy the Axis, right? And what's interesting in this iteration of the fascist resurgence is that no such axis really exists. America, which is the Nazi Germany of the equation this time around, is a nuclear superpower with 800 military bases, and most of the European allies are also incredibly servile and invested in the continuation of American domination. I happen to believe that fascism always fails because it's suicidal, right? It's a suicidal death cult ideology. It is inevitably, it is always going to fail. It is destined for doom no matter what. But if we were to look at resilience as far as imperial domination, the continuation of imperial domination, let's be real, liberalism was far more successful than fascism in doing that. So this acceleration in the direction of international fascism is probably a consequence of America being on the death spiral of empire. So when these guys turn around and say, no, you don't understand. Like the real way to do this is by being overtly fascist, engaging in vulgar imperialism in ways that people understand that they're being dominated, rather than the softer approach, that is far more complex, far more sophisticated, creating a self-justifying cycle of destabilization. Like, you don't just go into a country and decide your resources are ours now. You go in and you create civil society organizations. You create you at least find groups that you can utilize to create instability, to destabilize the country itself from the outside. But at least you have like a native face to your domination. You prop up compradors. They're not even doing that now. They don't have the soft approach of liberalism. Okay? So I think, maybe I'm being too hopeful here, but I think that this fascist move, this naked, brazen imperialism, will inevitably collapse. Obviously, it's not going to collapse on its own. You talk about liberalism like that, then why are politics close to it? If I talk about liberalism like that, then perhaps you should come to this recognition that my politics are not close to it. Okay? You might be a little too stupid. How could you say that my politics are close to it while you simultaneously understand that I'm criticizing liberalism? Then why are you surrounded by all these products? What? Products? Like commodities that I consume? Is that what you're saying? Socialism is when no Diet Dr. Pepper, no iPhone? Is that the argument? Is that what we're doing? I don't understand. Why do you own things, dude? What the Socialism is when no treats and no products whatsoever, no commodities. Guy who despises you and your ideology spotted? No, that's an 8-month subscriber, so I suspect that's not a guy who despises me and my ideology. That's just a guy who's a little bit misguided and doesn't fully comprehend what socialism is at all. And not promote the mass production by funding it? What? Yeah, this guy is tuning in not from his iPhone, but his own personal handmade device. Syndicalism. Okay, bro. Libertarians need to take a day off. Please. Just hugs and kisses for you, okay? Shh. Now is not the time. Now is not the time, libertarian baby. Okay? Take a day off. Also, I run a cooperative corporation too, so it's like really funny. Every syndicalist should be up my ass talking about how awesome that is all the time. But this one was like, I'm too sweaty, brother. For me, anarcho-syndicalism actually means no commodities. I was reading on someone's analysis of degrowth. I forget who it was, but it was like there's this like fundamental misunderstanding of degrowth where someone hears degrowth and just assume that means like we just need less things, like you shouldn't own things, right? Whereas like degrowth advocates are, and I know it's like it's a scary term, but degrowth advocates, it might have been Jason Hickel. No, it wasn't Kohei Saito, even though I have been talking to Kohei Saito and I'm hopefully going to link up with him when I go to Japan. But the degrowth advocates, it might have been Hickel. Yeah. I came across this critique of degrowth today in the Catalyst magazine by two prominent writers. I was struck by how wildly incorrect it is. Degrowth does not proceed from the position that there's already more than enough wealth in the world, which here seems to mean the stuff we need to live good lives is already produced and just needs to be distributed better. Totally wrong. Everyone with any sense can see there are critical shortages of basic things like housing, sanitation systems, healthcare, public transit, etc. In reality, degrowth proceeds from the position that there is already more than enough productive capacity The problem is that capital controls that productive capacity, the labor, the resources, the factories, and therefore produces what is profitable to capital. So we get massive overproduction of SUVs, weapons, mansions, etc., with devastating ecological consequences. And we get chronic shortages of obviously necessary things because they are less profitable or not profitable at all. The solution is to reclaim democratic control over the means of production, overcome the capitalist law of value, and organize production around social and ecological goals. In other words, socialism. This must include, and indeed is enabled by, degrowing, damaging, and unnecessary production. No more weapons production, no more nuclear arms production, but instead a focus on necessary resources that we have more than capacity to build. With this approach, we know it is possible to ensure good lives for all 8 billion people on this planet, including supplying all the core goods these authors call for, with less total resource use and energy use and less total output than the world economy presently produces. This is clearly not just about moving numbers around. What a bizarre claim. It's about transforming the ownership and direction of production. The greatest example of degrowth that I fully subscribe to is food. Okay? Famine in this day and age should not exist whatsoever. We have a surplus of food. Our agricultural products, like our agricultural output, is more than enough, right? But the reason why famine still exists, leading to approximately 14 million people dying every single year annually, okay, as a consequence of famine or famine-related diseases, is specifically because of capitalism. Okay, we have the productive capabilities right now to distribute food to every single person on the planet so that famine is a thing of the past. Okay, but the reason why we still have famine is because you have to make the productive process profitable. That's it. That's it. Also, that 14 million number is obviously important for you guys to remember whenever someone says communism killed 17 gorillion people or whatever the fuck, you can just turn around and be like, what are you talking about? Capitalism kills 14 million people and we already have an abundance of food supply. It's far worse. So we're not even talking about crop mismanagement or the downsides of collectivization initiatives. You know what I mean? Like, this is not even like a mistake that leads to tremendous amounts of casualties. You're talking a deliberate mechanism of starvation. Will Chamberlain, the equivalent of showing up to Jackie Robinson's first All-Star game in a Klan outfit. Joel M. Pelton, if your first reaction to seeing an Israeli NBA All-Star on the court is to greet him by showing solidarity to the people who massacred over 1,000 Jews on October 7th, you may be an attention-seeking anti-Semite. I'm sorry, I didn't see him wearing the banner of the Israeli Air Force. I mean, 1,000. If you're saying 1,000, like, it's, make no mistake, you know, the Palestinian resistance absolutely killed a bunch of civilians and a bunch of Israeli occupational forces soldiers on October 7. There were atrocities that took place on October 7. But there was also a litany of atrocities that took place in the hands of the Israeli Air Force and also the Israeli occupational forces. And I don't think Spike Lee was wearing an IDF dog tag, for example, you know? So mostly soldiers, come on, brother, there's no reason to do atrocity denial. You can understand what the inception point of said atrocities is. We're talking about 80 years of apartheid ethnic cleansing, okay? The standard of violence is always set by the colonial occupier. The resistance against the endless system of violence enforced by the Israeli government, an apartheid state that's constantly doing ethnic cleansing and ethnic displacement, is of course going to be inevitably incredibly violent. Having said that, there's no need to just deny said atrocities. You can understand where it came from and factor that into your analysis. Having said that, there was still plenty of violence that took place on October 7 in the hands of the Israeli occupational forces against the Israeli civilian population. Okay? Now, what's really interesting about all this is that Spike Lee is not saying any of those things. He's just simply saying he recognizes the existence of Palestine and the Palestinians. But that was a bridge too far for many Zionists who have lost their damn minds altogether once again. I personally really appreciate when Hollywood celebrities actually stick their neck out like this, even though the penalties for sticking your neck out like this is nowhere near as severe as it once was. I still think it's good, and more of this should happen, especially because it literally pisses off the dumbest people on the planet and makes them engage in hysterics. Okay? Even just like the most modest recognition of Palestinian existence causes people to lose their dang minds. Now, I responded to something of the sort from Todd Richmond. Todd Richmond said, I've been to more New York Knicks games than I can count, and I've never seen Spike Lee make a statement like this courtside. With Denny Avdija representing Israel on the All-Star stage, it doesn't seem to be accidental. He's making a statement, and it's not a good one. The NBA All-Star Game should unite fans around basketball, not turn into a political billboard. Okay? Brother, you are literally the co-founder of Democratic Majority for Israel. What do you mean? The only reason why you're mad is because a high-profile celebrity recognizes the existence of Palestine and Palestinians. That's all this is. Shut the f up. I said it's not a good statement. It's the best statement. Respect to Spike Lee. Free Palestine. Okay? NBA should ban Spike Lee for disrespectful pro-Palestine outfit. Ugh. Gross. But here is my favorite, my queen, Lizzie Savetsky. Let's see. Just a little neighborly gift for Spike Lee. Look at her face, by the way. No disrespect. I'm not on some misogyny shit, but like, it is honestly journalistic malpractice if I do not mention how AI base boosted her face is. That's crazy. That filter is wild, Lizzie. You're a beautiful queen, Lizzie. Just show your normal face. I don't know why you're doing all this.
All right, guys. So Spike Lee wore quite an outfit last night at the All-Star game. And, you know, he happens to be my neighbor. So I thought I would pop by his house and leave him a present.
Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel Chai. Am Israel, Am Israel, Am Israel Chai.
God, I'm sorry. I love pro-Israel people. They're so psychotic. They have zero chill. They have no way of managing the situation at all. They constantly get ahead of their higher priority, the highest priority, which is to defend Israel and to make it look normal and cool. You know what I mean? They can't do it. They just immediately start shrieking. They're like, you don't love Israel. You don't love Israel. You don't love Israel.
Am Israel Chai. Am Israel Chai.
Am Israel Chai. I'm doing normal thing. Look at me. I am being so normal. Oh, they're so deeply insecure, dude. And so crazy. They're so nutty.
All right, guys. So Spike.
I'm doxing Spike Lee. If someone put a Palestinian flag in your mailbox on camera, you call it an anti-Semitic hate crime and blame Zohran Mamdani for it. The people who did it would be on the cover of New York Post. The ADL would fundraise $1 million off of it. You would leverage to get a paid speaking opportunity in Tel Aviv. Just unbelievable to me how openly and gleefully racist and dehumanizing one can be towards Palestinians, while any show of sympathy towards them jeopardizes one's privacy, safety, and career. Yeah. But I will recognize that, you know, this kind of behavior is seen as gross. Most normal people see this shit and go, what the f is your problem, lady?
Okay,
like,
so
dude, you be normal. You know what I mean? Israel now spends every day going after 20 or 30 people in America and Europe, demanding their silence of ritual punishment or permanent ostracism for crimes such as using the word Palestinian or being disturbed by the death of thousands and thousands of children. I can't see that this will last. Yeah, I'm one of those 20 to 30 people, by the way, so it's pretty funny. But he goes to Equinox on 63rd in Manhattan East Side. Spike is actually a huge asshole. Surprised he did this. Okay, bro, chill out. It's awesome. I think we should do this more frequently, okay? The reason why I say that is because, like, obviously I go I go beast mode on Israel. I don't hold back at all, as you guys know. Many of these people won't do that, obviously, because, you know, they exist in polite society. Maybe they're afraid. Okay. What is this? My 10-inch Jew cock thanks you for your sacrifice. Okay. That's the weird chatter. In any case, what I was saying is, like, I think doing it for, is that brace? Yeah, I don't know about that. But anyway, you can do it for a litany of different good reasons, right? Or you can do it for a bad reason that I still think is a good reason, which is, if you're not going to do it for the Palestinians, you can still do it because it pisses off some of the most annoying people of all time. Okay? The people that do stuff like this, they lose their minds. Beitar says, Jew-hating scumbag Spike Lee had multiple alpha triangles calling for Jews to be killed at the All-Star game. It's awesome. It is pretty cool that we just have to kind of, just like we have to deal with, like, MAGA, just as we have to just, like, sit there and deal with, like, the psychotic hallucinations of MAGA Republicans, we just kind of have to sit there and act like these guys are normal parts of civilized society when it's clear that they are objectively insane, okay? I'm sorry. You're a psycho. You're hallucinating. You are not a victim. Like, what do you want me to do? Sit there and be like, oh, yeah, you're so right. You're so right, dude. You're so right. Your imagined hallucinated slights are totally real to me. They're totally real to me. And real to everyone else. Everyone should constantly be talking about whatever you have envisioned as, like, another apparent slight. Like, come on, man.
Spike Lee should be banned from every basketball game for the rest of his life. The fact that Spike Lee would protest the fact that an Israeli-born player made it to the All-Star game, the player's not political. The player's just playing basketball.
Just playing ball.
There's no place for this. You know, politics should not be involved in sports, which is why I don't want to get too involved in it. But the fact that the end.
Wait, what do you mean? There's no, at that point, like, first of all, if there is a Russian player who's been like, I love Russia. I was a part of the forces that have, that have actually taken over Mariupol, right? Like, Russia is awesome. I'm from Russia. I'm so honored and so proud to have served in the same military that, like, dominated Mariupol or something. Like, I think if someone said that, they would get, they wouldn't be allowed to play. They, like, Adam Silver would literally rip their contract apart. Deni Avdija has basically said that. Yeah, glazing Israel is an overtly political act and a dangerous one, kind of based. So many celebrities choosing to stay in their lane and not becoming overtly political. The journalist was trying to get a clip. As far as, like, Lakud James goes, as far as Lakud James goes, okay, that was bullshit. That was bullshit. That was a bullshit clip.
They allowed that to happen. And I'm sure at some level made this Israeli-born player feel a certain way when all he wants to do is play basketball. And now we're making political statements from a fan, not a player. If a player wants to do it, that's a player's prerogative. It's their game, not our game. Right. But for the NBA to open up their doors and front row service to a despicable human being and allow him to make this Israeli-born player feel bad, he shouldn't be allowed in Madison Square Garden. He shouldn't be allowed in another NBA arena for a long time. Spike Lee should.
Wemby had a better quote on Denis than LeBron.
Fourth row on the left. How would you describe playing with Deni Avdija during this experience, and just how's he viewed around the league at this point in the step he's taken this year?
How's he viewed? Takes a lot of free throws. So playing against him, I haven't played against him this year, but advice is to not defend without fouling. And I mean, I don't know how many minutes I shared with him in the court, but as I was saying before, I mean, today was a pretty fun experience. I think what we displayed basketball-wise was solid, and it shows on the results. I mean, it was close games with intensity.
You say he takes a lot of free throws. That's awesome. Why do they try to get Denis quotes from everybody? Is so weird. Bro, Israel. That's why, okay? What the f do you mean? Like, straight up. That's it. That's why they're like, oh, would you go to Israel? Would you love Israel? Would you kiss Israel? Would you let Israel into your home? Would you let Israel f your asshole? Please answer this question right now. Are you anti-Semitic? Why do you love Hamas? Why do you love Hamas? If you won't let Israel f your butt, you are Hamas. Why are you Hamas? Why won't you offer your entire NBA salary to the nation state of Israel? You are Hamas. Are you Hamas? When is the last time you offered arms to the Palestinian resistance? That's basically it. Do they have missiles aimed at me? That impacts my answer. If you do not purchase arms in an Israeli arms company, if you don't purchase stock in an Israeli arms company, when is the last time you said Am Israel High? Yeah, it's the same with FIFA and Eurovision cultural boycotts. They have to keep up appearances. They have to make it seem like they're a part of like normal society. They're a normal country when they're objectively not, and everybody despises them. And ironically enough, Denis' father is a Yugoslav Muslim. It doesn't matter, dummy. What the f? He served in the IDF. What the f are you talking about? What is this argument? I've heard this over and over again. He literally was in the IDF, bro. The f? I don't give a shit. Yeah, there's also Druze people in the IDF too. You think I give a f about that? If you are repping Israel, it don't matter to me. Like, this argument only works. This argument only works if you are an anti-Semite, okay? If you're like, oh, he's not full Jew, then I guess it's not a problem. Like, what? You think I'm going to say some shit like that? What are you, insane? I don't give a fuck about their religion. It doesn't matter. You could be a Zoroastrian, you could be Muslim, you could be Christian, you could be Jewish. If you're pro-Israel, you suck, okay? That's it. Like, if the ref doesn't call a call, he's obviously Hamas. Yeah. Anyway, pro-Israel or a pro from Israel? He's both. He's both. But yeah, this is why Zionists are... Ehud Barak thought the proposed soccer boycott had the most potential to change the fate of Israel. This is why Zionists are fighting so hard against any kind of ban on their football teams or their genocidal hooligan fans. Among many disturbing things in the Chomsky-Epstein emails, don't let this one go unnoticed. In 2015, they casually debated the power of sports boycotts against apartheid. This was the same year as Israel was under pressure of a ban from international football over Palestine. That's it. That's it. And that's why it's important to apply pressure. That's why it's important to do BDS, to demand BDS, to do cultural and academic boycotts straight up. Because it is the most peaceful option. It is the most peaceful mechanism of resistance. You have to punish the Israeli state for doing an apartheid, for maintaining an apartheid, for doing a genocide. It's ridiculous. It is quite literally the most peaceful mechanism of pushback. This is what Denny was saying over the summer about Israel. Yeah, I mean, I know. I read this at the time. Not everyone understands 100% what's happening in Israel. We're a very small country, and there are people who live in bubbles in their countries. Many are interested. And I always explain the whole situation properly from the right and good side. I try to show the reality as much as possible. Yeah, it's giving Ethan Klein being like, I'm going to go to Israel and show you how multicultural and multifaceted Israeli society truly is. As a Wiz fan, thank God we got rid of him. I'd rather be perpetually ass than defend his ass. Yeah. Israel, small nation, no politic here. That doesn't sound like he means the actual good side. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think he means it. Anyway.
Let's take a look at another president, though. President Donald John Trump. Look at this. I got 4 numbers across for you on this screen here. They are...
Holy Toledo, ladies and gentlemen.
Bruh.
Donald Trump's approval ratings are in the dumpster. It's a dumpster fire. I'm Harry Emden.
Are all second-term lows for the given pollster. What are we talking about? AP New York, 26 points below water. NBC, 22 points below water. Yahoo, YouGov, 20 points below water. Quinnipiac, 19 points below water. So we're ranging from negative 19 points all the way to negative 26 points. You know, Kate, there's this question that folks keep asking, you know, where is the floor for Donald Trump? And I'm not sure there is a floor, because if there is one, Donald Trump, at least in term number 2, has just fallen through it to another low level.
How does this compare with his first term, and how does this compare with Joe Biden?
Okay, so we look at these numbers right here. One of the things that Donald Trump had been arguing, his proponents have been arguing, oh, you know what, he's doing better than he was doing in term number 1. No longer is that the case. What are we talking about here? Okay, net approval rating at this point in the term. Look at this. 22 points below water on average when you average all the polls.
Please stop, bro. Jesus Christ, shut up. Gallup stopped measuring the COVID strat. I know. That is pretty fantastic, by the way. Gallup, after 88 years, has decided to no longer poll.
I see.
After 88 years, Gallup has decided to no longer poll the presidential approval ratings, which is crazy. Okay. And there's a reason for that, because, you know, dear leader, we are basically taking on all of the excesses of our ideological enemies. Straight up. People that we have, you know, things that countries that we have long considered to be enemies of the United States of America, and some of their excesses we have now adopted. Things that we suspect them of doing, we have started doing here in the United States of America. Straight up. Okay? Yes, it is an indication that the empire is collapsing. Peter Baker of the New York Times says, this is a huge loss for journalists and others who follow politics. Gallup has been the top source for presidential approval since FDR, and particularly valuable because of that historical context with apples to apples numbers that allow us to make comparisons and see patterns. After 88 years, Gallup has decided to hit the COVID strat. We will no longer calculate the presidential approval. We will no longer track the presidential approval, because if you don't track it, then it's fine. Everything is fine, actually, and the situation is better. It's the COVID strat. The only reason why the numbers are so high is because we're tracking them. We should stop tracking the COVID numbers, and then COVID will go away. Bye-bye.
Pollsters from the last slide. That is actually lower. That is lower than he was at this point in term number 1, when he was 17 points below water. So he's doing 5 points worse, and he's doing way worse than Joe Biden was doing at this point in his term number 1, when he was 13 points below water. So the bottom line is this: Donald Trump is setting new records for himself in term number 2, setting new records for himself compared to where he was at this point in term number 1, and he's doing worse than Joe Biden, which is, of course, the comparison that Donald Trump does not want to be, because we all know what happened to Joe Biden. His party lost the House in term number 1, that midterm elections, and of course Joe Biden was not reelected to another term. At this point, the numbers are no bueno for the president of the United States.
What's driving this that you're seeing right now?
Okay, Kate. You know what? This is the segment. We have done it over and over and over again because he keeps setting new lows for himself. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about independence. We're talking about independence. When you lose the center of the electorate, you lose the American people. Trump's net approval rating among independents, you know, at this point, you go back term number 1, he was 17 points below water. Now, according to Quinnipiac, he is 27 points below water. I don't understand how this works out well for the President of the United States. When you are 27 points below water, underwater, with the center of the electorate, with independents, you lose, your party loses. You know, I've made the comparisons before, you know, oh, he's more underwater than Greg Louganis. I've made the comparisons with all those different divers. And the bottom line is this: you can continue to make those, but over time, when you keep making those same comparisons, they run a little bit old. But at this point, I don't really know who to even compare Donald Trump to, because he's just so low, and he's so low with the center of the electorate.
261 days to go. Yes, the midterms may seem far off, but they are starting to dominate the dynamics here in Washington and are fresh on President Trump's mind. As the GOP now confronts a daunting political environment, Trump is taking his pitch to the nation's battlegrounds, even before U.S. troops in North Carolina, where he urged them to vote Republican.
Biden, who is the worst president in the history of our country. 0 illegal aliens have been admitted into the United States, and that's done by the radical left. Michael, will you come here for a second, please? He's running for the Senate, and if he gets in, you're going to be taken care of. If he doesn't get in, we're going to be stripping the military like they always do, the Democrats. When I heard they were taking the name Fort Bragg off, I said, no, they're kidding.
Again, always immaterial nonsense, always aesthetics nonsense. How much longer will this nonsense work on the unwashed reactionary masses? Because for the time being, when he first came into office, everyone's like, hell yeah, we're winning. It's awesome. It's like we're winning together, right? Anti-woke is on top. Woke is dead. Let's go and, blame transgender people. Let's go ban transgenders from playing sports at the NCAA. But like, he got a sequence of those executive orders in action, and nothing actually changed for the better. So there's only so much you can do in terms of culture war issues, in terms of advancing the culture war agenda, until people realize, wait a minute, my pocketbook is still hurting. It's not helping. Like, groceries are still expensive. The electricity bill has skyrocketed. What the are we doing this for? I'm not winning in this process. Oh, you named the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America? I don't give a dude. And even in the absence of the Democratic Party presenting said alternative loudly and proudly, engaging in politics from the perspective of class and saying, we're going to do class first politics. We're going to do class first politics. In the absence of the Democrats doing that, people still realize that this shit is not working. Okay? That's it. There's a reason why he has to turn around and say, affordability is a hoax. It's a hoax. It's a Democrat hoax. Why does he have to do that? He has to do that because affordability is a real issue, okay? It was a shot across the bow when Zohran Mamdani won on the affordability agenda. Do you know what I mean?
They did. They took the name off. We got it back very quickly, but they took it off. And if we don't win the midterms, they'll take it off again. It's another reason you have to vote for us, because they'll change it back to whatever it might be.
And this weekend, Trump also renewed his calls to place new restrictions on voting as he started to see some fraying within his coalition, all while possible 2028 contenders, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio, flocked to Europe this weekend where they're getting some attention. Let's break this all down with my excellent panel, Tia Mitchell from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, CNN's Phil Mattingly, and Julie Davis from the New York Times. Good morning to you all. So look, Trump is, of course, as he does, demand total unity as we head into this very daunting stretch for the GOP. His party wants him to focus on issue number one, the economy. And we've seen time and time again, Trump trip on his own message or create distractions and do things that are causing significant pushback within the ranks. Just this past week, we saw the Justice Department try and fail to indict 6 House Democrats. A lot of Republicans uncomfortable with that. How he's handled these ICE surges, particularly in Minneapolis in recent weeks, has caused pushback among Republicans, nervous about going too far. Of course, that racist video of the Obamas that he later was forced to delete, though did not admit a mistake. Phil, how is this playing as we head into the midterms with his party?
Not great. I think, and Monty, honestly, like I watch you work the halls every single week, and it's always a really good barometer of when do we hit self-preservation mode for members of Congress? And I think that as powerful as Trump's grip on the party has been, and I think we should all be very careful to pronounce some grand break or diminishment of his authority over the Republican Party and over his members, which has been so kind of ironclad over the course of the last 13 months. But the moment where Republican lawmakers, particularly frontline Republican lawmakers, start looking around and say, if I need to actually win in November, I need to start creating some distance, not dramatic scale of distance that we've seen perhaps in past administrations. But I think what we've seen over the course of the last couple of weeks, but in particular this week as well, is some of those members saying there are opportunities for me to break. The repercussions of that from Trump's Truth Social posts are not in the kind of cost-benefit analysis, bad enough for me to not want to risk this, and therefore I'm going to move forward. Is it a grand kind of fracturing of the party?
No, it's never going to be a grand fracturing of the party. They're never going to fracture. Okay. They have to hold on to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a connective tissue. Okay. Without Donald Trump, they are absolutely cooked. They have to circle around the dear leader and offer him unlimited praise because he is the glue that holds the base together. The problem is there's nothing that they can do in the absence of a totally unique and different vision that looks at this system of unlimited exploitation that is over the working class and say, we have to find something entirely different to do here. We have to build a robust industrial base. We have to bring back manufacturing into the country, which Donald Trump is saying he wants to do, but he's not actually following through on because he wasn't elected into power to do that. He was elected into power to defend the pedophilic billionaire cabal. In the absence of socialism or an alternative vision or even moving into the direction of social democracy, which is not going to do because it undermines the interests of capital, and no Republicans are ever going to do that. No Democrat is really ever going to do that either. They're out of options. He just has to keep hitting the same button over and over again. He has to keep hitting the same culture war buttons over and over again. Oh, this, that, Jeffrey Epstein. We're gonna invade a city. We're gonna invade a city with ICE. We're just gonna do more deportations. That's it. That's all we got. We don't have anything else. All it peters out into is this. That was so nasty that it literally, I felt like I could smell it. Like that's one of those things I'm never going to hit that button ever again. Brother, yeah, that was unacceptable. And I apologize for that one.
Absolutely not.
And typically in a normal, what's normal anymore, but like in his previous administration, the president would be like, okay, break with
every other president says, like, I get it. Like, this is what you have to do. Trump is not that president, and how that dynamic plays out in the coming weeks, we're going to see more of this, is going to be really, really telling.
Yeah. Right, and I think that's why it's been as limited as it's been, right? Yes. We saw that tariff vote last week. You had 6 Republicans. That's not anywhere close to the universe of Republicans that if they wanted to, protect their political flank and guarantee success in their races, would have wanted to vote yes on that to cancel the Canada tariffs.
There'd probably be a lot more.
There are a couple in there who are retiring. Yeah. There's one in there who's redistricted into a bad position anyway. So this is not as dramatic of a shift as we normally see at this point in the cycle, where you have a party that realizes they need to get some distance from the sitting president. But part of that dynamic is because this particular president will not brook any kind of break whatsoever, even if he knows, he probably doesn't think about this, but that it's for his own political good, the good of his own people in Congress and keeping the majority.
And we're starting to see his messaging too, focusing, as he does, about voting, voter ID, which of course, voter ID is an issue that unites Republicans generally. There's no question about it. But Trump is going much further than most Republicans are, particularly when he talks about what he mentioned on Truth Social just over the weekend. He said there will be voter ID.
Yeah, this is the other side of the story where he knows that his popularity is waning and they have to maintain the appearances that they still have this mandate. And obviously, if the midterms are coming around and he's going to destroy this movement, and Democrats, regardless of how shittily they perform, are still probably going to make significant gains. And I do think that it's not as my fear still right now in the midterms that Democrats are going to underperform if they keep up this if they keep up this like bullshit, wishy-washy, business as usual approach, hoping to eat at the gains that they make off of like the overall resentment the population feels towards the Republicans in power. They're not going to do as well as people think they are. Okay. But they probably still will make modest gains. And Trump is fearful of that because it undermines the agenda. It undermines the agenda because Donald Trump has to maintain this idea that he is super popular. Everybody loves him. Things like the Gallup poll no longer, after 88 years, no longer no longer covering the presidential approval ratings is helpful for Trump's ambitions here. And then, of course, the other side of this is to go in and focus on voter ID, SAVE Act, try to maliciously weaponize that against like Democrats in general, purge them from the voter rolls, offer or make it more difficult for them to get like true ID, real ID, or a passport or whatever, and institute some sort of like poll tax, basically. And then also maybe even put ICE at polling stations, right? With the claims that, you know, we got to stop undocumented migrants from going in and voting or whatever, even though these claims are completely unsubstantiated, but unfortunately not pushed back against by Democrats as aggressively as they should be. All of this serves a very important purpose: voter disenfranchisement and electioneering of this sort, trying to make it more difficult, trying to literally put the fear of God in people that want to go out and vote and engage in this civic duty. All of this is to stop people from going out and voting against the administration. And this, paired up with the fact that the Democrats are not giving them something to vote for, even in the midterms, is going to cause issues in the Democratic Party's performance of the midterms. That's why I'm saying they're probably going to have, if they don't change their attitude from this point on until the midterms, you will see something very different than the expectation.
For the midterm elections, whether approved by Congress or not. Also, the people of our country are
by the way, Kirsten Elm openly said that too. When it gets to election day, we've been proactive to make sure that we have the right people voting, electing the right leaders to lead this country.
Is another one of those critical infrastructure responsibilities that I have as well. And I would say that many people believe that it may be one of the most important things that we need to make sure we trust is reliable, and that when it gets to election day that we've been proactive to make sure that we have the right people voting, electing the right leaders to lead this country through the days that we have, knowing that people can trust it. And elections is another one of those critical infrastructure responsibilities that I have as well. And I would say that many people believe that.
Why is the Department of Homeland, the DHS secretary, worried about the right people voting and what the infrastructure is going to look like around voting? This type of shit is treasonous. Okay? Straight up. Straight up. They're saying it. This is why I say the controlled opposition party, the Democratic Party, is sleepwalking into fascism, okay? It's happening in real time. It's literally a one-to-one. Like, what if you have any understanding of history, the capitulation by liberals and the titans of industry towards the growing Nazi movement in the early days of fascism in Nazi Germany, early days of fascism developing in Italy, you recognize that powerful forces in the country that were servants of capital on the supposedly opposing side engaged in unprecedented appeasement, not just Neville Chamberlain or whatever. I'm talking like internally within the domestic governance of Germany at the time. They did this exact same thing.
Citizenship and no mail-in ballots, okay? And then he goes on to say, if I can't get this through Congress, there are legal reasons why this scam is not permitted. I will be presenting them shortly in the form of an executive order. What is he talking about? And states run elections, not the federal government. And here he is again saying that we will just do this, regardless if Congress approves this.
States run elections. The Constitution outlines some of this stuff. So what he's talking about, you can't do by executive order, and you can't do without violating the Constitution. You know, it's the way our government was set up. But I don't think Donald Trump cares about that. I also just think it's so interesting because I'm old enough to remember when Republicans, state by state, started relaxing the mail-in ballot rules to allow more people to vote by mail.
I mean, a lot of Republicans want that to happen.
They want that
because
to happen.
They wouldn't have the majority if vote by mail did not exist.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
And they know that the rollbacks of voting by mail could really hurt them in the long run because a lot of rural voters, a lot of voters in far-flung areas like that convenience of voting by mail. So it's just like, it's problematic from a legal standpoint. It's problematic from just a purely political standpoint that he's pushing for things that a lot of Republicans don't agree with. Especially, it's one thing to say voter ID at the polls, and that's what a lot of Republican members of Congress are focusing on. But that is not all that what President Trump is asking for. He's talking about proof of citizenship, which again goes back to the fact that, yes, there are some states that have different rules because we have determined that, well, the Constitution outlines that states run their.
Dude, people say we need voter ID bad. You have to ask if the elections in the United States of America are fair and free. At least a lot more fair and free than the way Republicans presented. You got to ask why they want to do voter ID. As a principle, I don't care about voter ID one way or another. Like, I would be fine with, showing a piece of paper that says you're an American citizen when you're voting, if that piece of paper or that identification was readily available and accessible. Okay? But in the absence of a real necessity for this, the only reason why they're doing that is because they want to engage in voter disenfranchisement. Okay? That's it. If you can't comprehend why they're doing this, I don't know what to tell you. Hasan Reactions is one of the best ones in the React channel.